افغانستان است. خودم اینجا دلم افغانستان است. افغانستان است. شب و روزم ز کابل مشنوم وحشت سراسر.
اینجا جای انسانیت نیست، اینجا جای بی‌رجالیت است.
ز کابل مشنوم خودم اینجا دلم افغانستان است. افغانستان است. خودم اینجا دلم افغانستان است. افغانستان است. شب و روزم ز کابل مشنوم وحشت سراسر.
سلام دوستان عزیز، صابر ناصری هستم. امروز با دوستم همکارم آقای دیو والاس. Mr. Dave Wallace, welcome to California.
Thanks very much for having me here in San Francisco, the beautiful city of San Francisco, and I am so honored to be here with you today. And to all of our listeners and viewers, salam alaikum from San Francisco.
Thank you, Mr. David. We are the guest today. And
Guest hosts.
Guest and host. We both host each other. امروز آقای دیو والاس همراه ماست و در مورد موضوعات افغانستان و موضوعات فردا صحبت میکنن. Yes, Mr. Dave, would you please introduce yourself, please, if you don't mind?
I'm Dave Wallace, and I really appreciate everybody being with us here today. I am first and foremost a husband, a father, a science guy, graduated in biology. I've worked at NIH in immunological cancer research. Since that time, I started my own business 40 years ago, 1981. I'm still running that business, owning that business. I founded it. And it's one that gives back to the community and provides materials and services to the building industry. And then in addition to that, I have been very active in the political realm, but most importantly the policy realm relative to economic policy, national security, as well as in 2018, with a lot of hard work and dedication over a period of about 3 to 4 years, I developed what is called the Fair Energy Foundation, an international energy foundation for the advancement of free market energy, one that is not encumbered by government that would intrude on the ability for you to have affordable, abundant, secure energy. Since that time, I have decided in this upcoming 2022 election to run for United States Congress in Maryland's 6th district. It will be eventually converted to a new district number because of a complete revamping of Maryland's gerrymandered system. But there's one other thing. I am honored and here today, especially today, to be the representative and reflect our views specifically as the senior American advisor of the Afghanistan-America Relations Office. And it's important when you hear who we are that you realize that this is an organization of and by and for the people of Afghanistan, and it reflects the values that Americans cherish. As we see Afghanistani Americans giving opportunity based on the American value system, our philosophy of government, and the simplicity of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, which is the model that allows all Americans, from whatever background that they come from, to be the best that they can be. And that's why I've been given the honor to represent the Afghanistan-America Relations Office, so that we're not representing a government, we're not representing any embassy, we're working through the people, listening, learning, and leading based on what the Afghanistani people want and what the American people want for the Afghanistani citizens as well as American Afghanistani citizens, so that the Afghanistani people can be the best they can be.
Thank you. Thank you very much. دوستان عزیز، آقای دیو والاس یاد کرد و اضافه کرد که دفتر روابط افغانستان امریکا نه به کدام حکومت و نه به کدام سفارت کار میکند، بلکه دفتر روابط افغانستان امریکا برای مردم و در خدمت مردم است. لحاظا ما همکارا یک جا صدای شما هستیم، درد شما را میشنویم، با مقامات امریکایی شریک میسازیم. امروز در کالیفرنیا آمدیم، در سان فرانسیسکو، و یک برنامه و تظاهرات داریم. فردا ساعت 2 بجه روبروی سیتی ها، و خواستم که با مشاور دفتر روابط افغانستان امریکا آقای دیو یک جا بیایم، برنامه را پیش ببریم. تقاضا میکنم از تمام هموطنان ما که به خاطر مردم ما، به خاطر افغانستان، به خاطر دموکراسی، به خاطر آزادی مردم بیاین یک جا شوند و صدای خود بلند کنند تا ما بتانیم صدای مردم افغانستان، کسایی که اینجا زندگی میکنن، صدایشان با مقامات امریکایی در ماه دسامبر شریک بسازیم. Mr. Dave, thank you so much for adding the good sentence for the people of Afghanistan. And the people of Afghanistan, I think they thought we lost their hopes, but now they understood that we are with the people, for the people. And some women and children, the Taliban, they are using children, and also they are using women against the people of Afghanistan, and they are taking the women to the police department or police stations and doing bad things. What's your advice for people of Afghanistan, and what's your advice for the terrorist groups in Afghanistan?
For the Taliban and those people who lie about their good and noble, quote, quote, noble intentions, no one is fooled by their words. They are going to be measured by their deeds. Their deeds are evil. They are doing everything they can through the rape and pillaging, raping of the women, raping of the small young girls, the murder. I just heard a horrific story on the way here where a young woman is dragged out, beaten incessantly, only for 3 bullets to be shot into the back of her head while she's begging for mercy to be stopped being beaten. It's a horrific thing to hear, and yet no one is talking about this in our national news media. They're making it as if the Taliban are people that can receive humanitarian aid, and yet they are the ones that are acting in such an inhumane way. They're destroying the humanity of those people who live in Afghanistan still till this day under the terror of the Taliban. And no one is fooled. The Taliban are evil, and they know that we know now. Without a shadow of a doubt, we know what's going on, and their day of reckoning will come based on the good people who are the Afghanistani citizens who at some point are going to be strong enough to turn it around and take it back at them and to defeat them. It's not this moment, but there is going to be a growing effort from United States citizens who are outraged like I am and like the Afghanistani citizens who have seen this, who hear about it, who know it's true, and it must come to an end. It's not going to come to an end because the United States intervenes. It's because the United States will give the opportunity with the equipment necessary for the Afghanistani citizens to rise up and do the job that they can only do.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dave Wallace. Dostan Aziz, ladies and gentlemen, you know Mr. Dave Wallace is the great man. I really appreciate him. And we honored that we have Mr. Dave in United States, not just Maryland, not just California, in this United States. Afghanistan people, they need you, they want you, they pray for you, Mr. Dave, because you're a very honest person and great person. Especially I love you, we love you. We just met few people couple hours ago. We had food together, and everybody texts me like, hey, Mr. Dave is unique. So please, if you want to support us or support Mr. Dave, please go to the website, go to the Google and type wallaceforamerica.com is the link. Please support Mr. Wallace, support Mr. Dave Wallace. He's running for the Congress of Maryland to win back the House of Representatives from those who betrayed the Afghanistani people. Mr. Dave will help the people, help the Afghanistan, and Mr. Dave can do something for us. So please go to the link again, wallaceforamerica.com. It's simple, wallaceforamerica.com. Wallace, WALLACE for America.com. Thank you very much. And also let me speak a little bit Farsi about you know, we have Mex show today. If you want to go to Turkey, a lot of people want to go to Turkey this summer, this year. Please let me speak Farsi first. اگر میخواین شما طرف ترکیه برین، لطفاً دو بایک اجازه دارین، چون من خبر هستم چندین فامیلا میخواین برن طرف ترکیه. رفیجی ها زیاد است در ترکیه، نیو رفیجی آمده، ضرورت داره به کمک های شما. لحاظا ما و شما انسان هستیم. We all one human. It doesn't matter we are white, green, yellow, black, doesn't matter we are Muslim, Christian, Hindu, Jewish, we all one human. پس چی میکنیم؟ از این طرف که حرکت میکنین به طرف ترکیه دو بیک مکمل دونیشن بگیرین، کالایی که شما استفاده نمیکنین، بوتایی که استفاده نمیکنین بگیرین ببرین به طرف ترکیه. از اون طرف دو بیک پر کرده بیارین، لباس دانه بخرین، لباس بسیار ارزان، کالا بسیار با کوالیتی بالا ارزان از اون طرف بیارین. این یک مشوره ما بود به کسایی که میخواین ترکیه برن. ما هم سفر داریم به طرف ترکیه تاریخ 20 نوامبر، چند روز بعد به شهر استانبول میریم و دیدار میکنیم از تمام مهاجرین و افغانای خود. لحاظا فراموش نکنین که دونیشن همراهتان ببرین یک جا. And Mr. Dave, would you please mention something about tomorrow? We have a demonstration, and do you know what that's demonstration for?
The demonstration is to speak publicly about what I've just mentioned, which are the atrocities going on right this instant in Afghanistan, and that the Afghanistani people need to know that there's a pushback against the Taliban, and we want the American government to know, as Americans who are friends of the Afghanistani people, that we cannot support in any fashion a relationship with the Taliban. These are the same people who killed nearly 3,000 Americans on our U.S. soil. They have not changed. They've only changed their tactics, but their drive, their direction is still one that's adversarial to the United States, and it's anathema to everything Americans believe, and it's a threat to American citizens here and abroad if we allow them, working with Al-Qaeda, working with ISIS, and all of the others that are now flocking back into Afghanistan to create a new threat similar but much greater than the one that occurred on 9/11/2001. And the American government, who has failed the Afghanistani people, will not just fail the Afghanistani people, and that's a crime. That is a debacle of the greatest nature that we have seen since the fall of Vietnam, in the way in which we left, not leaving the Afghanistani people the ability to fight. We had an opportunity. We know, based on testimony to our U.S. Congress, that our current president and the administration lied to the American people, saying that they were told specifically not to give up the Bagram Air Base, and it would be a very simple thing to maintain and control. And yet, President Biden said, no, we want to bring the numbers down so low that we will no longer be able to maintain the Bagram Air Base, a strategic fortress in the middle of Eurasia that oversees the protection of the Afghanistani army with little or no consequence to our Air Force and our tactical forces, air forces necessary to give close cover to the Afghanistani troops who are fighting the Taliban. And then in addition to that, they abandoned them at the moment when they needed their support after 20 years and on the anniversary of 9/11/2001. Further, that base can oversee the areas close to the Chinese border. And instead, now the Chinese have that air base if they want it. It's time for the United States citizens to wake up and understand what has been thrown away by the current administration. And I believe most Americans do. This particular president has the lowest approval ratings of strong disapproval that we have seen in the history of a modern presidency. And the entire administration is based on polling showing that they're an abject failure on U.S. foreign policy, as well as other issues that are affecting all Americans. And we need to be able to have sanity, regain a foothold in Washington, D.C. That's why I'm running. That's the reason why I'm running.
Great, great. That's a good thing. Mr. Dave, you know we love you. But I know who are you, because I have feeling about you. You're my brother. You're my advisor. You're my teacher, and you're everything for the people of Afghanistan and for the human being. But I have people of Afghanistan has question. I just got message. They said, is he Democrat or Republican? What's your answer, please?
First, I'm a person who has faith in God, who loves America. I'm an American first. I happen to be a Republican because I believe the issues and the values of the Republican Party are best reflective of what our founding fathers created to make this country the greatest country on the face of this planet. And we are the revolution. The American governance model is the revolutionary model for all governments around the world. The government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall never perish. But for those that pretend to be Democrats, but in actuality, they're socialists. Some people call them Marxists. Some people go further and call them pure communists. And I believe that today we no longer have the Democrat Party of old, of John F. Kennedy, as well as others who shared American values, maybe coming to the solutions for the American people from a different perspective, but never being adversarial against what America stands for. And yet today, we have a Democrat Party, I am sad to say, that no longer sees the Republicans as a counterbalance to come up with solutions that might make better solutions when both sides come together. Instead, what we have is a far-left regime that wants to tear down everything that's great about America, including our liberties, including mandates on every level, and destroying our energy policy so that in turn we're no longer energy secure, we're no longer paying less expensive prices on abundant energy, but we're paying much higher prices on energy that now is becoming more and more in short supply, and we're seeing that around the world. The United States was allowed to become great because the American government got out of the way and allowed entrepreneurship throughout the energy cycle and throughout the energy industry. And of course now we're seeing it across the board. And we're seeing huge delays at our ports, both Long Beach, the Port of Long Beach, and the Port of Los Angeles. And the president gets out there and comes up with some smug answers, tries to answer the question, and he fumbles around, can't even put together a coherent thought. The simplicity is, when you cut back the number of semi-tractors pulling these containers out of these ports, and you reduce that by saying no truck over 5 years old can work in those two facilities, you are going to get backups. You're going to get shortages of tractors drawing those containers out and getting them into the distribution system so they can get to the shelves on our American retail space. And that's what's going on, and yet no one's talking about that either. And then in addition to that, we're telling people no longer that they have value by paying them not to work, and in turn, we're destroying the drive of people to be self-sufficient. And that destroys dreams, that destroys a person's confidence, and it takes a person from being a productive citizen to being not productive at all. And then we see huge shortages from that perspective as well, and we see rising inflation because we're only putting money out, printing money without any productivity whatsoever, and the free market economy is being destroyed, where you're seeing the destruction of that relationship that's built America to make us the greatest country again economically, because we're segregating the employee from the employer. We're driving a wedge between the two, and that has to end as well. There are so many problems that we have. We have a border that is wide open. Terrorists can come across our border now because our border is being flooded with 300,000, 400,000 a month. Some of the estimates are that high. And when you pick up 5 people, there are possibly 5 other people or 10 other people that aren't even being caught. And that border was secure based on the prior administration maintaining a strong border security and having a policy where those people who wanted to enter, until they were vetted, until their cases were heard, they would remain in Mexico. And today, they are no longer abiding by that, even though a judge has said they must. They're now arguing it. They're saying they're trying to re-implement it. If they were trying, it looks as though they're not trying at all, based on what we're seeing today. And these are the things that are destroying this country. But worse, we've had multiple years now where our education system is no longer a system that educates our children, but instead the children are being indoctrinated, and then the news media pretends they don't see it either, and yet it's like telling a person, don't believe what you're seeing, believe what I tell you. And in actuality, we know they're lying to us. We know that the American people see what their children are learning, especially now that we've had this virtual learning, and how all of this critical race theory might not be stated any longer as a policy, but it's intertwined within the study, within the curriculum. And these years where children are being indoctrinated is a pure demoralization of our culture, because children are learning not to love America, but to hate America. And that is an existential problem, because if somebody doesn't believe in this country, they're not going to fight for this country. They're not going to work hard to have the best standard of living. They're going to give up. And this is a model that creates failure for every single American.
Thank you, Mr. Dave. That's a good word. See, I mentioned before, if you want to hear good thing, and if you want to share your voice with all Americans, and if you want to receive, good thing from America, and if you want America will help the people of Afghanistan, and especially Afghanistan, so please help Mr. Dave Wallace. And the link, again, it is wallaceforamerica.com.
Thanks very much. Thanks very much.
I will support and we will see if you can support. You're not only supporting Mr. Dave, you are supporting the right, you are supporting the people of Afghanistan, and you are supporting Afghanistan. This guy, he is supporting us. He wants to fight for freedom, democracy, and he loves to fight for a human being. Then why we can wait? Why we must wait? We have to support this gentleman. He's very kind. I love him like a brother. So let's work together. So today we are here, me and Mr. Dave, the Angel of America. I can give you a good title for him. I learn from him. I'm always asking him about supporting people of Afghanistan, about United States. He always advising me good thing, and he always asking me to do good thing for the people of Afghanistan. Let's take a phone call. It's emotional. Hi, Ms. Samira, how are you?
Hi, is this Mr. Nasseri?
Yes, this is Mr. Nasseri.
سلام آقای ناصری سر میتونم با فارسی صحبت کنم؟
بله بفرمایید. مهمان خارجی هم داریم. She asked me to speak Farsi please. And I said go ahead. Yes, بفرمایید. سلام.
اوکی سلام چه دارین خوب هستین؟
سلامت. مهمان شما در مهمان
شما سلام میگم.
She say hi to you. Mr. Dave.
Salam alaikum
Yes, سلام.
to you as well,
تشکر بر شما سمیرا جان.
Samira. It's a pleasure to speak to you.
Thank you. Thank you. I have a question. میخواستم بودم که می ماجرایی که در ترکیه رسیدن فرسومات مثل ما یک خیشا داریم که در ترکیه ماجر هستن و فعلا هیچ کمکی و دولت نمیکنه، هیچ نمیمانن که کار کنن
She's talking
و
about
یعنی
refugees in Turkey.
نمیمانن که شور بخورن، نمیمانن که پس وطن خود برن، موجه مثل بند ماندن یعنی و کسایی را تنها کمک میکنن که اگه بیوه باشه چیزا اوش کمک میگن دیگه نفر را کمک نمیکنن، یعنی و میتونن یک راه باشه که این طرف بیاین.
تشکر بانو سمیرا جان. به شما جواب و همچنان به تمام مردم افغانستان از طریق سوهیل تیوی جواب ما را عمومی میتیم. لطفا منتظر جواب باشین. تشکر.
درسته.
سلامت باشین. بانو سمیرا جان و هموطنان عزیز، کسایی که ترکیه آمده شخصی یون در خدمتشان است و همچنان ما دیدار و تیم ما دیدار از مجرین افغان در ترکیه میکنه یا در ترکیه میکنه به این خاطر است که ما بتانیم پیام شما را به یون و پیام شما را به امریکا و پیام شما را در وزارت خارجه امریکا برسانیم و اونجا سفارت امریکا در ترکیه است، با اونا دیدار دارم با مقامات دیگه و یک موضوع را میخوایم به تمام هموطنانم بگویم که هر کشور یا هر مملکت که شما را میپذیره و شما میرین هیچ وقت شما را دیپورت نمیکنه. کسایی که میگن ما دیپورت میشیم یا نمیشیم، آیا ما پس میریم، آیا ما پس ما را روان میکنن، این تمامش دروغ است. این حرفشان صحت نداره. مهاجرینی که به ترکیه یا به عربستان یا به هر جایی که میاین، قانون امریکا، آقای رئیس جمهور امریکا که 7 میلیارد دلار به خاطر صبر بکنین بانوی عزیز، به خاطر مهاجرین تخصیص داده، تمامش و تمام حکومت امریکا، وزارت خارجه امریکا در خدمت شما است، کمکتان میکنه، هیچ وقت شما را دیپورت نمیکنه. و اون مهاجرینی که در ابوظبی مانده توسط مقامات امریکایی یا اینجوها آمدن، 12638 نفر فعلا در دو کمپ که یکی لب بحر و دیگر کمپ دیگه از سابقه سیویلیان، اونا تمامشان 100% به طرف امریکا می آید. پروسس جریان داره. کسایی که کیس داره، اپروول داره، اونا را اول، کسایی که ندارن به ترتیب اونا را هم به امریکا میارن. لحاظا یک کمک بکنین، شما صرف صبر بکنین، حوصله بکنین و آیسته آیسته شما را به طرف امریکا میاره. این پیام ما بود به کسایی که در کمپ ابوظبی و در ترکیه است. تاریخ 20 دیدار دارم با افغانایم در استانبول. منتظر باشید. تیم ما، خود ما در خدمت شما هستیم. ما همیشه در دیدار هستیم با مقامات امریکایی. سفرهای گوناگون داریم در ایالاتهای مختلف امریکا، به کشورهای گوناگون، جرمنی، کانادا میریم، جرمنی میریم، ترکیه میریم، هندوستان میریم تا مجرین، تا مردم خدا احوالش بگیریم، پیامش بیاریم، مشکلشان حل بکنیم. خاطرتان جمع باشه، تیم ما در خدمت شما است. سلام علیکم بانوی عزیز، بفرمایید. You can speak English if you want. چطور هستین؟
خوب هستین؟ بخیر هستین برادر عزیزم؟
سلامت باشین، زنده باشین. صابر ناصری هستم. سلامت باشین.
سلام برسانیم برای میمان عزیزتانم.
She say hi to you.
سلام علیکم.
بسیار خوشحال هستم از شما و میمانتان آقای ناصری محترم.
الویس.
سلامت باشین. اسمتون چی است؟ از کجا به تماس شدین بانی محترم؟
ما از کنتاکی به تماس شدیم. زهره موری هستم.
زهره موری from Kentucky.
بله. برادر عزیزم، ما پلیس بودم در ریاست امسک وزارت داخله. 5 اولاد داشتم. در افغانستان مانده که شوهرم پلیس بود. خودم آمدیم، اولادایم در خطر است در افغانستان. یک روز خانه مادرم کت میشن میگن، یک روز خانه یک امپایر میشن. خانه مرا تراشی کرده طالبا به خاطر سلاحایی که پیش ما بود از ریاست امسک. بسیار در خطر است اولادایم.
مشکل نیست. بانوی عزیز به تیوی سهیل تیوی تماس گرفتین. آقای سهیل شماره شما را ثبت میکنه. کسایی که واجد شرایط است که امروز ما صحبت میکنم، من میفهمم کی ها واجد شرایط است. کسایی که واجد شرایط است، eligible است، ما برشان دوباره زنگ میزنم، مشکلشان حل میکنم و فامیلشان کمک میکنم. So please.
بسیار زیاد تشکر برادر. صدای من به نفر خارجی هم برسانید.
So she said please send my voice to Mr. Dave also.
Thank you.
She was the MOI police, and also her husband was the MOI police in Afghanistan, but she moved from there to Kentucky. Her children are in Afghanistan. They're moving from door to another door, and the Taliban, they're searching their family door to door. But she's asking me for help, and I said, I will give you a call back. Mr. Sohail will save your number and wait for our call. We will help you, and we will share your voice to all Americans.
And we all Americans are praying for your children. And we're so sorry that they are going through this suffering, pain, anguish, and the emotional distress of a parent. As a parent myself, I can't imagine what you're going through right now. And we're so sorry that you are having to endure this pain. When you reflect your sadness, it comes through loud and clear, regardless of the language. And we are so sorry. And the United States citizens, I know we care about you, and we care about your children. No one should be suffering like this, and our hearts go out to you. And now is the time for Americans, as well as those former military, to be called into action to help bring your children out, along with so many others. And yet our hands are tied by the current administration, the current State Department, all under President Biden. And this is a tragedy that's going on right before our eyes. And God will be the judge of President Biden and those people who have created this scenario where people are now being terrorized, including your children.
Thank you so much Mr. Dave. خدا کنه زهره جان صدای آقای دیو شنیده باشی. کوتاه بر شما جواب می بله پیامش شنیدین. تشکری میکنم و اینا هم پوزش میخواه شما از طرف امریکا و ای که دعا هم میکنن خود از اینا و تمام امریکایا به اطفال شما. بعد از برنامه ما انشالله همکارای ما بر شما زنگ میزنه، صحبت میکنیم. ما در خدمت شما هستیم. تشکر از شماستان.
زیاد تشکر از آقای ناصری محترم. خداوند رئیس جمهور افغانستان شما را بسیار میگم. شما چقدر مهربان هستید، صدای ما را میشنوید.
سلامت باشین. ما در خدمت شما هستیم.
یگانه کس هستید که گپ ما را شنیده به مقامات رساندن. اولین نفر هستیم. خداوند شما را دیگه خیر بسه آقای ناصری.
سلامت باشین، زنده باشین بانی عزیز، خوش و خندان باشین. با امید دیدار. خداحافظ.
بسیار تشکر میکنم از اون دیگه تا سی ساله من دیگه کوشش کنیم دیگه
انشالله. تماس
از مادام میفهمین بله. سی ساله مانده.
She has young kids, even 3 years old, and they left in Afghanistan.
Oh my God.
And ما پیام شما را رساندم. بعد اینجا ما مشاورین داریم که تمام پیام‌های شما را نوشته میکنن. انشالله به تماس میشیم. تشکر از تماستان بانی عزیز. خوش باشین.
تشکر میکنم برادر عزیزم، برادر محترم.
خوش باشین. سلامت. شب شما بخیر. تشکر. هموطنان عزیز، ما در خدمت شما هستیم، از طرف شما هستیم، به خدمت شما هستیم. این که کسایی که شکایت دارن که آقای ناصری تلفن‌ها رو جواب نمیتن، ما جواب میدیم. اما میلیون ها زنگ میآید، ما باید به نوبت به تلفن‌های شما جواب بدیم و هر سوال داشته باشین دارین همیشه در کامنت فیسبوک Afghanistan-America Relations Office بنویسین تا ما بتانیم به جواب کامنتتان از طریق کامنتتان به شما به تماس شیم. دفتر شما در خدمت شماست. سلام علیکم برادر ما، چطور هستین؟ از کجا به تماس شدین؟
بله سلام علیکم.
بانوی عزیز، با معذرت که در اسکرین تلفن احمد نوشته شد. ما شما را برادر خطاب کردم، با معذرت.
فرق نمیکنه. تشکر. میگفتین ما یک سوال داشتم.
شما میتونین به انگلیسی سوال بکنین یا به فارسی؟
به فارسی.
Okay, she speak Farsi. Okay. That's a woman, but it has like Ahmad. So, شماره شما نیست؟ اسمتان چی است؟
اسمم صابره.
Oh, her name is Saber. So, Saber Nasseri نام ما است، صابره نام شماست. My name is Saber, her name is Saber. Similar. بفرمایید بانو صابره جان.
Sabra Salim alaikum.
بانو صابره جان اینا سلام بر شما میگن. آقای دیو خدمتگار مردم و همچنان کاندید پارلمان امریکا از ایالات مریلند.
ما شما تشکری میکنم از اونام از اینکه شما به خدمت مردم هستیم و به مشکلات مردم رسیدگی میکنیم. تشکر بسیار زیاد برادرتون.
سلامت باشین. She want to say thank you to you
از من مامای مقصد
and to you all.
امریکایا کار کرده دیگه فعلا خودش مدت 2 سال میشه که فوت کرده و خانمش هم پارسال به مریضی کرونا فوت کرده.
Her uncle was served 7 years for US military. He passed away a couple years ago and her wife passed away. بفرمایید. ما صرف کمک خواستم ترجمه کنم که دوست خارجی ما هم بفهمن. بفرمایید.
بله بله. و ما اینجا به اولادایشان همی کیس سایبی را خانه‌پوری کردیم، چون همو بچگک کلانش کل اسنادای پدر خود نگاه کرده بوده.
ماشاءالله.
و
young,
کیسشان
they're young kids. They kept their paperwork. She applied for SIB on behalf of her family. That's good. بفرمایید.
بله. و ما اینجا منیجر مامای ما که یک امریکایی بوده که او را پیدا کردیم، از او برشان رکمندیشن لیدر است، او را جور کردیم سرشان. و دیگه ای که کاغذها را روان کردیم به سفارت و فرسان از دوستا شنیدیم که گفتن یک اولاد مامایم که از 21 پایین است و 3 تاش از 21 بالا که 2 تاش دختر است 2 تاش بچه، و گفتن که فکر نکنیم که هر 4 از اینا را ویزا بتن. منطقه امریکایی گفته خودش بسیار یک کاغذ خوب نشته کرده بود که ما همراه این کاغذایشان یک جای سفارت روان کردیم. گفته بود که پدر از این همراه ما 7 سال کار کرده، بسیار بر ما با صداقت و راستی یعنی کار کرده، آدم تو خوب بوده. ما میخواییم که در 4 اولاد از افغانستان برای که اینا در خطر هستن. دیگه نال ما شما میخواستم نظر بگیریم که آیا امکان داره که برای 4 از یا ویزا بده یا این که تنام یک دخترش که از 21 پایین است، چون میگن که کیسای سایبی اولادایی که از 21 پایین باش آورده میشه بالاتر نیست. مگم از اینا چون پدر و مادرشان نیست، اینا در حساب سرپرست ندارن و هر 4 از یا به کمک ضرورت دارن که از افغانستان براین. و این بچه کلانشان هم مریض است، یک مریضی داره که ضعف میکنه. کل اسنادای دکتر خود بر ما روان کرد که ما او را زمینی همی کاغذایشان یک جای روان کردیم سفارت که اینا ببینن که بچه کلان هم که به حساب سرپرست فامیل است ای خود از یا مریض است. دیگه فکر میکنیم که اینا را 4 شویده بسن یا ای که ما بر از یا کیس پیتو پردیم. چه قسم فکر میکنیم؟
بانوی عزیز تشکری میکنم به نمایندگی از انسانیت از شما که شما انسان خوب هستین و کمک میکنین. یک انسان یا برادرتان یا برادرزاده در این دنیا، در این زمانه، در این زمان، در این وقت کس به درد کسی نمیخوره که شما میخورین. در افغانستان قبل از اینکه من جواب شما را بدم میایم روی مسئله افغانستان کمه که بعدا جواب شما دریافت میکنیم. جواب در افغانستان رهبرا فرار کرد، حکومت نیست، سفارت نیست، اما دوست ما که قبلا یاد کرد به خاطر موضوعات کاری ما و دفتر ما، همکارای ما در کنار شما هستیم و بودیم و خواهیم بود. ما فرار نمی کنیم تا که شما فرار نکنین. ما فرار نمی کنیم. اگر شما فرار کنین باز هم ما فرار نمی کنیم. لحاظا ما در کنار مردم خود هستیم. مشوره ما بر شما ای است. 2 مشوره دارم. یک که کسایی که به سایوی اپلای کرده و پدرشان یا مادرشان فوت کرده به اینا اکسپشن خط میتن. یک خط از طرف مشاورین یا همی سوپروایزر میتن برشان که اینا را بپذیرن. گرچه اوور 21 هم باشن باز هم اینا واجد شرایط است چون مشکلات دارن. دوم وقتی که در انترویو رفتن اینا باید تمام همی برنامه مشکلات خود و همی چالش که داره باید یاد بکنه. اونجا سفارت است، انسان هستن، اونا درک میکنن. شاید 50% من فکر میکنم گمان میره که به اینا ویزا بتن. و مشوره دومم چی است؟ در کنار از این که سایوی دارن چون اوور 21 است، 3 اولاد دیگهش و یکیش پایین از 21 است، به خاطر از اینا پیتو هم اگر خارجی چون دارین، تماس دارین، ارتباط دارین، خارجی رو بگین که پیتو هم اپلای بکنه که هم یک بکاپ داشته باشین و هم اسایوی داشته باشین. لحاظا سر از فردا شما هم به پیتو برشان بگین که اپلای بکنه، سوپروایزر رفر میکنه. شما نمیتونین اپلای. خود خارجی که خط داده اینا رفرش میکنن. بگو رفر بکنین پیتو بر از اینا و همچنان مشوره مرا، تجربه مرا و مشوره مرا به امی فامیل بتین و ترنینگ بتین. تشکر از تماستان. خداوند سلامت داشته.
تشکر. و ما میخواستم اگر زحمت نشه نمره تلفن خود شما را داشته باشم، یگان وقت یگان سوال می باشه از کدام طریق من میتونم امروی شما مستقیم صحبت کنم؟
درست. دفتر روابط افغانستان امریکا شماره شخصی دارن. Afghanistan-America Relations Office در یوتیوب بزنین یا در گوگل بزنین یا در فیسبوک. شخصی فیسبوک داره.
فیسبوک شما را فالو میکنم.
بله، اموج شماره است.
واتساپتان داده بودین، یکی دو بار زنگ زدم هیچ کس جواب نداد.
کمک مشکلات است. بله، میلیون نفر زنگ میزنه. شما هر بار زنگ بزنین، انشالله همکارای ما در خدمت شماست. و از طریق تلویزیون سهیل تیوی که تازه انشالله تلویزیون به یک نام دیگر اعلان خواهد شد به نام افغانستان وایس تیوی. و باید داشته باشید که آقای دیو کاندید کنگره امریکا به هر تلویزیون عادی نمیرن. این تلویزیون به خاطر به خدمت مردم افغانستان است، صادقانه در خدمت خواهید بود. لحاظا آقای دیو خودم آمدم تا از طریق تلویزیون افغانستان وایس تیوی که فعلا به نام سهیل تیوی است صدای شما را بشنوم و پیام بدم. پس شما با می تلویزیون تماس بگیرین، شماره شخصی ما صرف بر شما میدن. اگر اینجا تکرار بکنم میلیون زنگ میآید، اذیت میشم. شماره شخصی ما علایده است، شماره دفتر علایده است. ما در خدمت شما هستم، از طرف شما هستم. تشکر.
زنده باشین برادر گرامی. بازم تشکری از شما میکنم، از دوستتان. خداوند جان جور خوشی و خوبی نصیبتان کنه. تشکر.
قربان شما شم. تشکر. وقت خوش. شبتان خوش. شبتان. She just asked me about the SIV case. I advised her and I share my experiences with her. And she asked me my personal phone number, and I said I'm so sorry I cannot share my personal number on a TV show right now, but you can contact Mr. Sohail. He will give you my number. And also in the future we will change the name of Sohail TV to Afghanistan Voice TV, which is we already set up, we already talked with Mr. Sohail, we will work together. And I mentioned Mr. Dave is not going to every regular or irregular TVs, but Mr. Dave loved Mr. Sohail and he loved the people of Afghanistan. That's why tonight we are in your service and we will share your voice with everyone in the United States. And Mr. Dave, people they have a lot of questions. So
thanks for that, Saber. Thank you very much.
My pleasure. And let me say, you know, about Afghanistan. Afghanistan, we as an Afghanistani or Afghan, we lied to America for 45 years. We lied to all Americans that we are this and that, and we are from this tribe, that tribe, we are majority, we are minority, we are this, that. We never tell the truth. Because Afghanistan people, they love to say the truth. But some people that who run the government of Afghanistan, they lie to you guys. As you mentioned before, that I'm sorry about your loss. And I want to say one thing. I'm sorry about their lies. That some Afghan government, they lie to you. But this time, we will never lie to you guys. We will tell you the truth, and you will see the truth. And tomorrow is the first proof of it, and you will see it. What the people of Afghanistan want, and what the government of Afghanistan want, and what the Taliban want. The people of Afghanistan want restore justice, but the government of Afghanistan want peace. We fight for human being. They fight for peace to make money. But without restored justice, we will never see peace. We have to have restored justice first. And we will tell you the truth, Mr. Dave. And you will hear us tomorrow at 2 o'clock in front of City Mall in San Francisco. What's your advice for those who lied to America for 45 years?
There's no advice you can give people, give to liars. There's advice to the people who heard those lies. And it's a situation today where it creates a term I call incredulity, because once you're lied to, it's very difficult to believe anything that anyone says. Now, there is a difference. The Afghanistan-America Relations Office is not run by government officials who were former lobbyists for the Taliban. Your organization, the organization to whom I work as an American advisor, the first thing I say is that you must always be honest, whether it's good news or bad news. But you also have to have hope. Hope that you will turn the corner, that you will build a strong enough coalition of Americans who support Afghanistan and the Afghanistani people, so that in turn you can one day, not never, but one day, it might take a year, it might take multiple years, where the Afghanistani people can regain their homeland. And that's really why the Afghanistan-America Relations Office operates, to restore that opportunity for people to regain their footing, to regain hope, to regain the knowledge that they're not the only ones out there, but there are millions of Afghanistani citizens, people who love Afghanistan. They will never allow that aching in their heart to stop until such time that the Afghanistan homeland is there. We as Americans, we cherish America, just like the Afghanistani people cherish Afghanistan. Not because of the Taliban, but in spite of the Taliban, because they know that they have a country, a fledgling country, that they can regain again, and they can institute the values that they now see are the opportunity that America gives. And Americans always support those people who want to be free, who want to have liberty. And there's one more thing. We saw in the Secretary Pompeo in the former administration forge relationships through the Abraham Accords. Those Abraham Accords were ones that brought people together where it was said they would never be brought together with the Israelis, Bahrain, as well as United Arab Emirates, Morocco, and others. And this needs to continue going on. And those relationships need to be forged, built, so that in turn the Afghanistani people aren't only looking as brothers and friends of the United States, but brothers and friends of those countries within the Middle East and within Eurasia where they can forge those relationships, where the Taliban is left in the cold and not building those diplomatic relations, but suffocating the Taliban government for what it is, knowing that these people live by no standards of human decency, but in actuality, they're immoral, corrupt, and they need to be shut down once and for all. There's no longer this game where anybody can say they believed the Taliban wouldn't create such atrocities, would not perpetrate such atrocities. Now you see it, you hear about it, and it's time for the world, the decent people around the world, the governments that are decent, to say no more to the Taliban.
Correct. Thank you so much, Mr. Dave. I have someone on the line, but let me add one sentence first before I join the brave women of Australia. But one thing, if anyone, there's a lot of people, they requested, they called me, they called TV last night, they said we want to see and talk with Saber Nasseri. Correct, no problem. I'm in your service. We all in your service. If you want to talk with us face to face or want to share something, please join us, and I want to see you tomorrow at 2 o'clock in City Hall, San Francisco, or my office is in San Francisco too. You can call Sohail TV, the screen number, and you can contact him and he will join you. So please, if you want to see us, talk with us, come tomorrow. دوستان عزیز، هموطنان گرامی، اگر میخواین فردا از نزدیک ما را ببینین، فردا ساعت 2 بجه به سیتی هال در سان فرانسیسکو هستیم. اگر میخواین در ترکیه ما را ببینین، مهاجرین یا مسافرین یا هموطنانی که در ترکیه هستند، تاریخ 20 نوامبر ما در خدمت شما در ترکیه می باشم. از نزدیک می بینیم، مشکلات شما را میشنویم. اگر مشکلات خصوصی داشتین، خصوصی با شما صحبت میکنم. در مورد برنامه هایتان اگر عمومی بود، عمومی هم را شما صحبت میکنم. ما در خدمت شما هستیم و هر جایی که باشین ما میایم، شما زحمت نکشین. ما از طرف شما برای شما هستیم، نزد شما میایم. Right now we have a guest and also brave women, Miss Rita Anwari. Rita Anwari from Australia, that she fought for Afghanistan, she fought for democracy, freedom, and still she is fighting for us, for the people of Afghanistan. We call him Angel of Australia. Good evening, Miss Rita. Mr. Dave is hearing you. People, they are hearing you. Mr. Dave, he is the candidate for Congress representative of Maryland, next to Virginia. How are you?
Salam Abai Nasseri, and hi, Mr. David. First of all, I would like to pass the gratitude to yourself, which you're doing a great job for the nation of Afghanistan with very small capacity, which you have, but you're doing twice a bigger job on that. Congratulations on that. We're proud of you, what you do. I'm also coming back to a few pointers I want to talk about it. I hope there's enough time to put an issue. The matter you just indicated regarding people is in Qatar, Doha, or Turkey. I'm not sure how many thousand people is there, but I know there is quite large amount of people there, and they're contacting myself and contacting you, and like us, there's so many others that we can contact and to try to get them out of their country. But when we put an issue in America, I'm not exactly sure how to advise that, but in Australia, there is a boundary. There is a boundary, definitely. If you check the Home Affairs website, and I actually shared the link as well, there have been almost 7,000 cases, like visas, and also Australian citizens being refused, send them back because they have criminal background, they're rapists, they're warlords, they have got a money laundering background. So Australia not welcoming them, and also if they're in Australia, they send them back, which is very good things.
Good.
We want to save
That's excellent.
children. Yes, and that is what's if people is in Dubai or Doha or whatever it is, they have got a background of criminal, they're warlord, they have got a money laundering, and they're rapists. So forget about it. Australia, even you come, you will go back. You go back to the desert or somewhere.
We do same thing.
And there's one other thing. You're absolutely right.
We don't want to give, we don't want to give a wrong hope for the people. They say you're criminal. It's still Australians who open the door saying welcome. No way.
Correct.
Like, if the law, we've got a great law, great government, and that's what we're looking for future for our children, and that's a good thing. And I'm not sure about America, how is that running? And the other thing is, I'm sure Mr. David is doing excellent job, great job, but I'm not sure his background, how long he's in politics in America. But I haven't read his history. But there is another thing is, personally, I'm involved very deeply with politics back in Australia, like in Afghanistan, which is, I never support any party in Afghanistan. I've got my own agenda. It's a democracy, women rights is human right. If we go back to think about the Afghanistan situation for 40 years ago, who made Mujahideen? Who support Mujahideen? And who actually put them in the power, got rid of communist government? There was a fund, there was support, and why they actually put them stand as a warlord and they bring the Taliban 1996, 2001, and they still didn't work. Who actually bring the Karzai's government by very confidence from America and support them, and why didn't it work? And why actually Ashraf Ghani come up in the power? And what happened in 2015? Who signed a contract with UN? And that's supposed to, Afghanistan supposed to hand over in September 2021. If you go check what as UN said, I actually put a little video in my page as well.
Please do.
We do have all the information. Yes, we do have all the information and everything. 2015, when the election was there in Afghanistan, there was very, very clearly, it's on the word in the document is saying Afghanistan's supposed to be handed over back to, America's supposed to walk that out and hand over back to Taliban in 2021 in September. And that is all been designed. And that's, I'm not actually pointing anyone. My point is, right now, I'm asking every politician, nicely, kindly, we need to work together to support Afghan people, not use them as part of campaigning, because that's not the goal.
This is
doing a great job.
You're right. You're right. You're absolutely right. And one of the things that you didn't say, but I'll bring it up because some people don't know some of these granular details. There were those that helped perpetrate 9/11, 2001, that killed thousands of Americans and destroyed our edifices, the great world Twin Towers, the World Trade Center Twin Towers. And for all of those years, there was wrangling going on about those people who committed these crimes, and none of them were executed. We had 4 Taliban generals who were released to Qatar during that period of time you're speaking of, And they are now back in Afghanistan helping to direct these atrocities. That in itself is an atrocity. And you mentioned the year, 2015. In this period, we have no direction from the American government that is the correct direction. We're going in the wrong direction. We need to go and see that when people are captured for crimes against humanity, these aren't people in a war zone. These are citizens on the city streets of the United States, and they were never brought to justice. They were housed. They were given all kinds of benefits while they were living in Guantanamo. Yes, they weren't free, but they were never sentenced for their crimes against humanity. This is something that Americans in perspective will see as we discuss it now and in the future. That was one of the biggest debacles for the United States, that showed that we would not stand up to these radicals. And I know you believe what I'm telling you is true. You're aware of it, but so many people aren't. And when we have these generals in Qatar directing this war against American soldiers, against people in Afghanistan who were in the military, where 60 to 70,000 were killed in action, these are the kinds of things that make you scratch your head and say, who was leading America at the time? And we know who they were. That's why I'm not affiliated with the Democrat Party. This, although people say it's not about party, it is when you have a party that isn't just stupid, but they're misdirecting the American focus, and they're doing harm to America. And that's the crime. And also, you have every reason to be upset about the arguments you're making. And I'm so glad that you're stating the obvious, stating the truth.
Ms. Rita, I want to add one thing. Number one is very, it's nice to talk to you. Ms. Rita has the best accent, a British accent, which is, I love it. Number two, Ms. Rita is the advisor of, one of the advisor of Afghanistan-America Relations Office in Australia. And we work together for women, to save women. And thank you very much. And number three, Ms. Rita, we are working shoulder by shoulder to prevent those people, those terrorist supporters. And we don't want those terrorist supporters to come to United States. That's why we are working together and send them back home.
That's the question I've got. We know the history 40 years ago. Who made which actually the party, and why did it work? Why the American wasn't satisfied with their job, and so they made another group after another group. And right now they are 80% satisfied with the job because Afghanistan is under control of Pakistan. Even we don't have any representative to represent our country. Imran Khan, he is actually representing our country, which is absolutely under no circumstance acceptable to Afghan people. Afghan people, they've got a different nation, this different nation. Why Pakistan government supposed to go in the international community and represent a country which does not belong to that country? So the island is this because of the Durand line. So now nobody's talking about Durand now. It's talking about like all Afghanistan is under control of Pakistan. Very soon they will say like this is one country. One is Pashtun or some project or something. What's the division is coming in the middle. But what I'm asking right now, we have got a criminal, we have got a warlord already controlling this, which is I call a government. Not even government takes about force, but they are ministers. They're representing that government. They go into international, not international, but in Pakistan to represent Afghanistan. Why America is so quiet? Why do you actually seeing those criminals? They anybody will leave America or Australia or Canada, anywhere, we're still got a voice. We're so angry. We want to answer. Why America is trying to get things covered up? What's happening? And right now, every single Afghan, once they're hearing it, there's a support. Some of the politicians supporting Afghanistan, they straight away put their hand. They said, we support you. But no, Afghan people are supposed to know why they're supporting them. And we don't want to be, first of all, being used as a campaigning tool. And the second thing, we wanted the truth. Someone is honest. Someone is with a heart to stand up as a humanitarian and helping those Afghans stuck in Afghanistan, those Afghans outside Afghanistan with the not hope. I'm not going to talk, for so much. I hope I like you like this. I'm more than happy to hear later on the next program. Thank you for having me.
Rita, you're so right. And, I'm a businessman. I started an international energy organization called Fair Energy. This isn't about me. This is about the Afghanistani people. It just so happens that my heart's in this place with you. It's not to, in any way, utilize this as a tool, but I care about the Afghanistani people. Now, what you're saying is absolutely true, but the pain of the people of Afghanistan is similar to the pain of the people I meet around the world. I've been in multiple countries, in the Middle East and even in the Eurasia zone, but I've also been in Vietnam, and I've been in South America. This plight is one where you see an American government that cannot see the obvious. And the obvious is that there are these totalitarian governments, including warlords, like you just said, who are putting themselves in power through violence, similar to what happens in Somalia, for instance. Warlords that are only trying to establish their tribe over the other tribes and pushing their will onto the people, regardless of the needs of the people, and not creating a liberty-minded country, but a country where the people are under domination and persecution. And there's something, Rita, that you want to remember. The founding fathers of the United States, and this might sound like it's too ephemeral, not to the point, but it's directly to the point. No government can stand long when it only utilizes coercion. The only government that can stand the test of time and be seen as valuable to the people is a government that creates happiness. Happiness that's derived by the people themselves determining their future, and not a government that imposes its will upon the people. And remember that as people realize how much this government or these warlords are in Afghanistan, pushing their will against the people, murdering people, trying to subdue the people, and not helping to create happiness for the people, the Afghanistani people will have had enough. And I've mentioned this to Sohail, I've mentioned it to the colleagues of the organization, and I'll mention it now publicly. The United States State Department is not, of course, it represents the United States, but there are so many people there that are left of center. They obstruct a good president, a conservative president's views. And one of the things that I argued was, and think about this, Rita, I want you to think about this, and I want you to scream it from the, just like you're talking now to us. No people will be subservient when they themselves are armed. Now, you might disagree with me, but I know if a woman and her children, especially her older children, are confronted by Taliban with guns, and they're told to bend down, to be shot and murdered like sheep, if they themselves are armed, like the U.S. citizens are armed, the government would then fear the people, and the people would no longer fear the government. Remember, we have a Second Amendment in the United States. That Second Amendment was designed right after the end of our Revolutionary War against the British. And the British tried to disarm U.S. citizens so they could control the colonists at the time. And the colonists said, this is too much. We will not accept it. This is a tyranny being placed against the Americans, and we will forge our own way without you, and you will never disarm we the people, because that is the only protection we have against a militant government against the people. And if our State Department had any sense, the good people, law-abiding citizens of Afghanistan would have been able to be given the same exact rights that the United States citizens have, so that in turn the Taliban would have been turned back multiple locations at multiple times. Those opportunities would have occurred. And in speaking to my friends who are former military as well as advisors to our U.S. military, they feel that there would be a totally different situation if we had had a Second Amendment right for the citizens of Afghanistan, especially the women. The women are being brutalized today, their children are being brutalized, and the atrocities are beyond something you can even speak about, where you know there may be children listening.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Ms. Rita, and thank you for joining us.
No worries. Looking forward to the next conversation, next program.
Sure.
Thank you, Rita, so much for calling today and having giving us an opportunity to talk to you.
I think, no worries, we have got so much to talk and highlight it, but I don't think we're getting much time for today, and hopefully we catch up next time.
Sure.
Thank you, Rita. I'll look forward to speaking to you directly.
دوستان عزیز، هموطنان گرامی، امروز برنامه خود ماست. ما هست نداریم، اگر داریم اجازه ندادیم که در بین ما دو نفر کسی هست باشه. خواستیم راز دل، درد دل شما را جهانی بکنیم. خود ما هم هست، هم مهمان، هم میزبان، همکارای ما هست. اینجا همکارای تلویزیون نشستن، صرف صدای ما را میشنون، درد ما را میشنون و صدای شما را میشنون. امروز خواستیم که مستقیم با شما با تماس باشیم، در بین ما و شما کسی نباشه و درد شما درد ماست، خوشی شما خوشی ماست. خداوند خوشی مرا به شما بده، درد شما را به من. ما در خدمت، ما در خدمت، همه ما یکی هستیم. هر سوال داشتین آزادانه از تلویزیون سهیل که بعداً به نام افغانستان وایس تیوی تغییر میخوره، مشوره بکنین، زنگ بزنین. من در خدمت شما هستم. انشالله فردا میبینیم کسایی که در فریمان و ساکرامنتو است. فردا ساعت 2 بجه به وقت فریمان کالیفرنیا روبروی سیتی هال خواهیم دید. As a wrap up, Mr. Dave, let's add the last sentence, and if you have anything, please, cameras in your service.
Well, we just want to thank you for letting us into your homes to this evening. Of course, beaming into different places around the world. We thank you so much for tuning in and allowing us to be in your homes. And sharing your time with us, and I hope that we get a chance to listen to you, learn from you as we did from Rita just a second ago, as well as all of you have called in. And the next time we should take more calls and listen to you so we can hear from many, many more people, because we know there are so many people out there listening today who have the same concerns, but for different reasons. And we want to hear all of them. And when you listen and you learn more, you can then come up with solutions that you by yourself could never come up with. And this is a solutions-driven show today. It's only the start. We can work harder to build a greater relationship with you, and that's what we want to do. It's important that in these early stages of the Afghanistan-America Relations Office, as fast as we've grown, it's important that we grow even more, because your future, the future of Afghanistan, the future of the Americans who have supported Afghanistan, it's critical that we all share these ideas, because we share like values, the values of life, the value of liberty, the values of the pursuit of happiness, and the triumph of all of them, so people of goodwill can work together with the construction of free market economies, safety and security for the citizens from without and from within, especially from within, in the case of the inner cities of the United States, and all throughout our country where we're seeing an explosion of fentanyl, but also the culture, the growing of the culture, not the subduing of the culture, because people need to be free. And we need to work toward the triumph of these elements so that human dignity flourishes around the world, not just here in the United States. And the United States is that beacon that will allow it to flourish, because we can offer the guidance of that shining light. The United States isn't perfect, by no means, but we learn from our lessons, and we try to perfect ourselves every day. And I want to thank everyone again, and especially Sohail, as well as you, Saber, for allowing me to be a part of the organization, a part of the show, and hopefully my relationship with the Afghanistan-America Relations Office will help propel the organization of the people to make for a better organization, and one that's better equipped to serve the people.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dave Wallace. And I want to add one thing. Please, if you want to support Sohail TV, please go to the YouTube, just subscribe. It's free. They're not charging you. Internet is free. I know you pay for it, but just click subscribe. And also, Afghanistan-America Relations Office, we have a Facebook page. It has more than 100,000 followers. Just like it and you can see more show. And اگر دوستان عزیز هم وطنان عزیز خواستم به فارسی هم بگویم، پیج افغانستان امریکا ریلیشن آفیس یک لایک و شیر بکنین، برنامه های خوبی را به خاطر مردم افغانستان ببینین. و همچنان تلویزیون یوتیوب چینل سوهیل تیوی را به خاطر کمک و به خاطر که معلومات بیشتر دریافت بکنین سابسکرایب بکنین، لایک بکنین. به خاطر سابسکرایب و لایک پول شما مصرف نمیشه، اما کمکش میکنین. تشکر، خوش باشین، وقت خوش نصیبتان. Have a good evening and thank you for listening us.
Good evening.
Bye.
اینجا جای انسانیت نیست، اینجا جای بی‌رجالیت است.
ز کابل مشنوا خودم اینجا دلم افغانستان است، افغانستان است. خودم اینجا دلم افغانستان است، افغانستان است.